Danny Rojas, Alex Eggleston, Frey Holland. Each of them has earned their place in the hall of the worst protagonists in gaming, whether through terrible writing, a complete lack of depth, or making us wish they just stayed silent.
Did I just do that?
Well, definitely with my assistance.
I did not just do that.
We did.
And Johnny Klebitz, he belongs right there with them. GTA 4's DLC The Lost and Damned put him in the spotlight, except he never did anything with it. He's so passive, he might as well just been an NPC. And by the time Rockstar was done with him, even they didn't respect his existence. In this video, I want to answer the simple question of what went wrong. What made this DLC be dead on arrival? Is it because a methhead junkie is better written than the main character? Is it the one-note villain? Or is it the horrendous ride information mechanic? This is the case of The Lost and Damned, a game that wanted to be a biker tragedy, but only ever managed to be a tragedy. Rockstar doesn't really make bad protagonists per se. Their games have always given us criminals with some depth, be it CJ escaping the past, Arthur Morgan wrestling with mortality, or Nico Bellic searching for closure. Whether they're heroes, anti-heroes, or outright monsters, Rockstar knows how to make you care. But The Lost and Damned is different. This was supposed to be a story about brotherhood, loyalty, and the inevitable collapse of the Lost MC. A violent, gritty, tragic biker drama. And on paper that sounds incredible. Biker gangs have always been a perfect setup for crime stories. There's a built-in conflict, loyalty versus ambition, brotherhood versus survival, betrayals, power struggles, the tragic fall. This should have been Rockstar's Sons of Anarchy. Instead, what we got was a protagonist who never felt like a protagonist. A story that had nowhere to go, and a world that fought against its own concept. And it all starts with Johnny Klebitz himself and the first fatal mistake.
Gentlemen, gentlemen! Why the long faces? Might I tempt you in a swift libation, my most trusted and honored guest?
I thought we had a truce going on.
Did you? Funny thing, I wasn't aware. But let me tell you, it's a strange kind of truce that makes you think that it's okay to gatecrash my party? Deadbeat motherfucker.
I'm sorry. You enjoy your little party. I take it the good times are over. No problem, old man.
Screw you, you deadbeat prick!
Yeah,
Think you can come to
screw
my
you.
party and gatecrash? Come on!
Yeah, come on!
You moron.
In every GTA game, there's a moment when you realize you're in control. Like when Tommy walks into Diaz's mansion for the first time, or when CJ returns to Grove Street after the war with the Ballas, finally reclaiming his home. Every GTA protagonist, in some way, owns their story. But Johnny Klebitz never does. From the first mission of The Lost and Damned to the very last, Johnny isn't a leader, he's a babysitter. He spends the entire game reacting to other people's problems, cleaning up other people's messes, and making decisions that never feel like they actually matter. And that's the first fatal mistake of The Lost and Damned. Johnny doesn't work as a GTA protagonist, because he has no real agency.
Oh, the deadbeats have got themselves one shitload of heroin. Pack it up, Johnny.
Wait, I don't understand.
What?
I thought this was payback for Jason, man. What the fuck is this?
2 million in arm candy is as good a payback as I can think of. Come on,
Jesus,
brother.
man, hold your fucking horses, man. Now we're gonna steal their smack? Slow down.
Slow down, huh? Hold up. Wait. Ooh. Jesus. Physics lesson, fuckball. Do you know how motorcycles work, do you, Johnny?
You about to get schooled.
Centrifugal inertia. Meaning, the quicker your wheels go, the more stable you are. The faster we go, the harder we hit it, the more us brothers pull together. That's why we do what we do. That's how we do what we do. Why? How? They're the same fucking thing.
We go faster, longer, and harder, and that's how we stay together.
Brian, shut up.
What the fuck are you talking about? You gotta stop reading them shitty internet sites, man, and start thinking about what you're doing to us. We lift this shit right now, and every deadbeat on the East Coast is gonna come after our chapter.
Well, that's something your leader will have to worry about, not you, soldier.
When we first meet Johnny in GTA 4, he's already set up as a guy in a losing battle. The leader of the Lost MC, Billy Gray, has been in rehab, and in his absence, Johnny has kept the gang running as smoothly as possible. He's level-headed, cautious, and at least seems like someone trying to be a responsible leader. Then Billy gets out, and instantly, Johnny's authority disappears. From the very first mission, Billy takes over every conversation, dominates every interaction, and makes it clear that Johnny's role isn't to lead, it's to be his little bitch. Billy openly disrespects him in front of the gang, drags him into completely unnecessary war with the Angels of Death, and forces Johnny into the exact kind of reckless gangbanging he was trying to avoid. And what does Johnny do? He just goes along with it. And sure, you could argue, that's the point of his character, he's stuck in toxic cycle, a guy who can't break free from the gang. But the problem is, the game never actually challenges that idea. Billy is so cartoonishly self-destructive that Johnny never really has to make a choice. There's no tension, no real moral dilemma, no moment where Johnny actually fights to lead. Even the moment where Billy finally gets arrested, the event that should have shifted Johnny into power just happens off screen. We don't see Johnny make that happen, we don't feel like he's taking control, it's just a thing that happens to him. And for the rest of the game, he's just reacting to the fallout. Billy's in jail, Brian's causing problems, Ray Boccino is dragging him into mafia nonsense, and the entire Lost and Damned story is just Johnny putting out fires, instead of actually making any choices that define his arc.
Here comes Tweedledum and Tweedle-fucking-Dumber.
Fuck you.
Billy was always good to you and you ratted him out.
Billy's a one-way SOB and he don't give a shit about the brothers.
No,
Yeah, you think Billy'd stick his neck out for you? You're dumber than I thought.
I knew you'd say that. Just knew you'd say that. You're so predictable,
Wow.
Johnny Little Dickowitz.
What a baby.
Yeah, and your babysitter Billy's on the inside now, so it's bedtime for you, motherfucker.
That's your call,
Get the
boy.
fuck out of town.
That's your call, boy. You're the one taking a nap. Put these assholes in the ground, brothers.
And don't get me wrong, GTA protagonists don't need to be powerful. They don't even need to win in the end. But they do need to feel like they're driving their story forward. In San Andreas, CJ starts as a street kid and builds a criminal empire. In Vice City, Tommy manipulates his way into total control of Vice City. Johnny, he starts the game as a reluctant second-in-command. And by the end of it, he's a reluctant second-in-command of nothing. The game falls apart, the clubhouse burns down, and Johnny doesn't really do anything to change it. He just walks away. He doesn't win, he doesn't lose, he just exists. And that's the problem. He gets played by Billy, he gets played by Brian, he gets played by Ray, and then he rides off into the sunset, having accomplished absolutely nothing. Even if you like Lost and Damned, and even if you like Johnny as a character for some reason, you have to admit, it never really feels like his story. And when you combine that with his personality, the problems only get worse.
No, I can't. Hey, speak up. I can't hear what you're saying.
Easy.
Hey, Johnny boy.
What's up?
You had a good time the other day with those boys, huh? Men and their motorcycles.
Sure. Why we need to hit that convoy so hard? You know, all these bodies can't be good for your business.
I'm the big boss.
Okay.
People gonna love you, but they're gonna hate you even more, right?
Now you're starting to sound like Billy.
When you the big boss, and you me, these bodies gotta come with it.
Okay.
I fed him his balls.
I'm just saying you should limit your casualties.
Would have married 3 of them if I thought that, right?
All right. Let's do this, Liz.
It's so hard to get it nice again once the assholes have their party.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, she'll love it.
Okay.
Now, when I say personality problem, I don't mean they have to be loud or over the top to make it work. And that's also not really Rockstar style when it comes to protagonists. Nico Bellic isn't flashy, but he's compelling because he's deeply conflicted. Every conversation reveals new layers to his guilt, his trauma, and his disillusionment with America. Arthur Morgan doesn't always say much, but he thinks a lot. We hear his internal monologues, we can read his thoughts in his journal, and we see how he wrestles with his past and present. And Johnny? He says things. That's about it. For a character that's supposed to be a hardened biker, he barely has any defining traits. He's not particularly charismatic, he's not that funny, he's not terrifying or deeply layered. He's just kind of there. The only real thing we know about Johnny is that he's tired of this shit. He doesn't want to deal with Billy, he doesn't want to deal with Ray, he doesn't even want to really deal with the lost MC. But instead of making him feel like a tragic anti-hero, it just makes him feel checked out of his own game. It's the same problem you see with Aiden Pierce in Watch Dogs. His entire personality is just, I don't want to be here. And that's not interesting to watch for an entire game. Compare Johnny to another biker anti-hero like Jack Steller from the Sons of Anarchy. Jax also wants to change the club, but he's constantly making moves, dealing with betrayals, shaping his own path based on the vision he has for the future. Johnny? He just complains about Billy, follows orders, and leaves when it's all over. Maybe a stronger world building could have saved him, but The Lost and Damned was never built to succeed. At its core, TLAD is supposed to be a biker story, a tale of outlaw brotherhood, power struggles, and the slow collapse of a criminal empire. But there's one massive problem. Liberty City was never the right place for this story. If there's one thing every biker story thrives on, it's the open road. The long highways, the endless asphalt, the feeling of freedom as you ride out into lawless territory. Liberty City doesn't have any of that. Instead of highways stretching into the horizon, you get a claustrophobic, traffic-choked streets where stopping every few seconds is inevitable. The game actively punishes you for trying to live out the fantasy it's selling. It's like Coca-Cola selling their soda but putting a massive warning label that this shit contains 40 grams of sugar and will give you diabetes guaranteed. And look, I get it. GTA 4's Liberty City is supposed to be dense, detailed, and realistic. It's built for a slower, more methodical style of gameplay that works perfectly when you're playing as Nico. But for a biker, it's a nightmare. There's a reason real-life biker gangs tend to operate in more rural areas, places where they can take over small towns, control the roads, and establish actual territory. Liberty City makes the Lost MC feel like just another gang in the sea of criminals. They're not feared, they're not powerful, they're just another group getting squeezed by the mafia, the triads, and the Russian mob. Even in their own story, the Lost MC never feel like they run anything.
Well, look who it is.
Hey, how you doing, tough guy?
What's your problem?
I told you not to get too fucking clever.
What? Oh, you gotta be kidding.
Start walking. Downstairs.
Okay, I'm going.
Another thing that Rockstar tried to do here is to make riding as a gang feel immersive. They gave TLAD its own unique mechanic, riding information, keeping pace with your brothers, staying locked into the group while on the road. But in practice, it's one of the most pointless, frustrating mechanics in the entire game. First off, it slows everything down. The entire point of GTA's open world is the freedom to move however you want, take different routes, or speed off when needed. But ride formation forces you to stick to a strict pace, making every trip feel like an on-rails escort mission. And to make it worse, the AI is terrible at it. Your gang members constantly break formation, slam into cars, or get stuck at intersections. And the cherry on top? If they fall behind, the game just teleports them back into place, completely killing any illusion that this is a real tight-knit gang. It's Rockstar trying to force a feeling of brotherhood, instead of letting it emerge naturally. Compare this to how they handle gang presence in other GTA games. In San Andreas, rolling with your crew actually felt powerful. Grove Street would follow you into shootouts, back you up in street fights, and make you feel like you control the neighborhood. TLAD tries to capture the same sense of belonging, but the game's mechanics just aren't designed to make you feel powerful. And because of that, the Lost MC never feel like a real dominant force in the city.
I just think that given this war we're back into with the Angels of Death, and given the fact that one or possibly two government agencies are looking into our shit, that offloading the heroin would be a good idea, alright? And looking for a fight is the wrong thing to do right now, given the fact that we can't even stop fighting amongst ourselves!
Yeah, you're right. We should probably all get in a circle, hold hands, pray, sing kumbaya.
Kumbaya.
Yeah, whatever. This ain't no joking matter, Billy. We'll either end up dead in the ground or back in the lockup with you.
I ain't going back there. I'd rather be dead.
Damn straight.
Well, you don't have to do either, man. I just think that getting rid of that stuff now is the right thing to do.
GTA 4 is a story about isolation, corruption, and survival. Nico is a man trying to escape his past, constantly betrayed, and constantly questioning his choices. The world reflects that. Liberty City is cold, cynical, and miserable. The Lost and Damned tries to introduce a completely different theme: brotherhood, loyalty, the idea that even criminals have some kind of code. And that just doesn't fit here. The biker fantasy works best in a world where you can carve out your own kingdom, where the gang actually has power over their environment. That's why a game like Red Dead 2 works so well. Dutch's gang actually moves through the world like an outlaw family. They establish camps, and they take over towns. The Lost MC? They just feel like a bunch of guys hanging out in a rundown clubhouse, waiting for bad things to happen. Even in missions where you should feel in control, like storming enemy territory, taking on rival gangs, you're constantly reminded that the Lost MC are just small-time criminals, getting squeezed from every direction. And maybe that could have worked if the game actually made Johnny struggle for power, an interesting arc. But as we already covered, that never happens. So instead we get a world that actively resists the story Rockstar is trying to tell. You know where this DLC could have worked? GTA 5. Imagine the Lost and Damned in Blaine County. Wide roads, open highways, rival gangs actually fighting for control of small towns. But even if the world wasn't the better fit, the Lost and Damned still could have worked if the story had been strong enough to carry it. It wasn't.
Jesus, that was heavy, man. Fuck it.
What was Billy's fucking problem?
Nothing wrong with him, buddy.
You two want us to end up all dead?
Man, Billy was right about you. I knew you were a rat. Now he's gone, man.
He ain't gone, Brian. He's gone to prison. He's not dead.
You ratted him out. You ratted him out.
No, I didn't. He nearly got me fucking killed.
You set us up. You always wanted to be the one, the man. You're a gimp, Johnny. A gimp and a fucking Judas.
What the fuck are you talking about, you ass-kissing little weasel?
Hey, Brian, Johnny's not like that, Jim, you're wrong, man. I know you're a good guy, but this Jew prick, he fucked us over, man. He set us up and he called the cops. And you know why? Because they're putting heat on him. They saw him, and they've been calling him. I know, because they did the same to me. And they told me you ratted us out.
You keep talking like that, you are dead, my little friend.
Fuck you, man.
What?
You sent Billy to jail, huh? Show us your phone. Prove you ain't been speaking to the law.
I don't prove shit to you. And I didn't talk to no one. Fuck it. Come on!
You stay away from us, you hear?
If anything, TLAD's story is one of the most predictable, shallow, and tensionless narratives Rockstar has ever written. It sets up an obvious conflict, drags it out for way too long, and by the time it's over, it barely feels like anything actually happened. And the reason why? It all comes down to three things. 1. A villain so obvious and one-note that there's no real tension. 2. A conflict that never evolves beyond its opening premise. And 3. A final act that just fizzles out, with no emotional weight or payoff. This isn't just a weak story, it's a story that was dead on arrival. Every great downfall story starts with a strong antagonist, someone who isn't just an obstacle, but a force that directly challenges the protagonist's beliefs, forcing them to change or confront something about themselves. Billy Gray? Billy is just loud. From the second he shows up, he's obviously the bad guy. There's no subtlety, no depth, no layers to peel back. He's just a reckless psycho with a death wish. And we spend the entire game waiting for the moment he betrays Johnny. And that moment never feels impactful, because it was so painfully obvious from the start.
Johnny, you met Ray?
Hey.
Ray Bocino?
Hey.
My brother, Johnny. Johnny the Jew.
Johnny the Jew, how the hell are you? Do me a favor, help keep this degenerate out of jail, all right? At least until he's paid me.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, later.
What's he selling you?
Toys, my boy, toys. Now come on, let's go.
Man, where we going, Bill?
Pay somebody a visit.
Billy, man, please don't be a dick.
Johnny, you seem a little tense lately. Have you considered some analysis? Maybe a day spa? High colonic?
Colonic.
Compare him to someone like Dutch Vanderlyn from Red Dead 2. Dutch is charismatic, manipulative, and at least in the beginning, you understand why people follow him. His downfall is gradual, full of moments where you want to believe he can still pull himself back, even when you know he won't. Billy, on the other hand, he might as well have "I will betray you," stamped on his forehead. Even Dmitry Rascalov in GTA 4, who was also obviously a villain, manages to be more compelling because he's cold, calculated, and unpredictable. You don't know exactly when or how he's going to turn on you.
You know, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that we must obey the rules of the game. We can pick the game, Niko Bellic, but we cannot change the rules.
Billy, on the other hand, spends the entire game screaming nonsense, and then, shocker, turns on Johnny the first chance he gets. There's no build-up, no real turning point, no complexity. It's just the most obvious betrayal in GTA history. And because of that, The Lost and Damned never actually has a story arc, because the entire game is just waiting for something that we know is going to happen.
See, it's Billy. Ray, it turns out that Billy was trying to poison him against you, and now apparently Billy's going states. He's gonna blame you. I'm sorry.
A great crime story is about escalation. The protagonist makes a choice, that choice causes problems, the problems spiral into something bigger, and suddenly, everything is out of control. The Lost and Damned doesn't do that. Instead, it sets up a single conflict, Johnny versus Billy, and then just spins its wheels for hours, never letting the situation develop in an interesting way. From the very start, the core tension is Billy wants war, Johnny wants to keep the gang stable. That's it. That's the whole story. And the problem is nothing about this changes. Billy doesn't get smarter. He doesn't manipulate the gang into turning against Johnny in a meaningful way. He doesn't even really have a plan. He just yells, does dumb shit, and gets himself arrested. And then once Billy is out of the picture, the game has no idea what to do. So instead of escalating the story, Rockstar just throws a bunch of side conflicts at Johnny, hoping it will make up for the lack of a real arc. Brian's mutiny is completely one-dimensional, just another Billy loyalist causing problems. Ray Bacino's mafia jobs are completely unrelated to the main plot, just extra padding. And the Angels of Death war doesn't evolve beyond basic kill these guys missions. None of these conflicts actually build into something bigger. They're just obstacles to drag out the runtime. Compare that to GTA 4. Niko starts with a simple quest, find and kill the man who betrayed him. That quest pulls him deeper into Liberty City's criminal underworld, he gets caught between mafia bosses, political corruption and personal betrayals until he finally comes full circle and gets to make one final choice. There's momentum, things build toward a climax. TLAD, on the other hand, just coasts through its story until Billy comes back in the final act, at which point, well, let's talk about that.
Terry, man, we gotta pay our friend Billy a visit. He's been talking. Bring Clay and bring all the fucking firepower you got. Meet me at the Alderney State Correctional. I'm waiting.
Even in a flawed story, a strong ending can redeem a lot. Maybe the journey was uneven, but if you nail the climax, the audience leaves feeling satisfied. The ending of Lost and Damned? It just happens. Billy is in prison, Johnny bazooks his way in, and kills him. No final confrontation, no mind games, no power struggle. Just a quick, basic shootout, and Billy is dead. And then what happens? Johnny burns down the clubhouse and rides off. That's it. That's the ending. Finito. There's no real emotional weight to this moment, because Johnny never really had a meaningful relationship with Billy. Unlike Arthur and Dutch in Red Dead 2, there's no real history or personal stakes. Billy was setting Johnny up to take the fall for his crimes, sure, but the game never lets this moment land. It never explores Johnny's anger, his regret, or even his relief. It just happens. There's no sense of finality. The gang falls apart, but Johnny doesn't really react to it. He just leaves. There's no moment where he wrestles with what he's lost or what he's supposed to do next. Compare this to Red Dead 1, where John Marston gets his revenge on Dutch, but then realizes his fight isn't over. There's still unfinished business. The game doesn't just end. It gives us a powerful final act that recontextualizes everything. TLAD's ending feels like Rockstar just wanted to wrap things up as quickly as possible.
Checkmate, dude. Come on, get it over with. Do it! I'm doing it! What? You waiting for a speech or something? Come on!
At this point, The Lost and Damned had already set up Johnny Klebitz up for failure. He was a passive protagonist in a story that never let him take control, stuck in a world that wasn't built for him. And by the end of it, Johnny barely had an arc, barely had an ending, and barely left an impact. But even after all that, Rockstar could have at least left him alone. Instead, they did something much worse.
You know how it is.
The year is 2013. GTA 5 had just launched. We've got 3 new protagonists, and one of them is Trevor Phillips, a psychotic, drug-fueled wildcard meant to represent GTA at its most chaotic. And what's the first thing Trevor does? He kills Johnny.
Trevor! I'm talking to you, motherfucker!
Are you? What are you saying?
Fucking my girl, man. It's wrong.
Well, I gotta fuck someone. You want me to fuck you instead? Is that the problem here? Take off your pants, cowboy, all right? Let's fuck.
You think this is funny?
Get them off!
I told him to leave it, Trevor. I told him. Leave it. Leave it.
Shut up, Ron. I'm about to fuck me a methhead, ain't I, cowboy? Get my boy sucked from his toothless gums, huh?
Fuck you, Trevor.
Oh.
I still love her.
All right, cowboy. Hey, I know. Hey, come on.
I don't mean nothing by it, man.
I know.
I'm messed up.
I know, cowboy. It's okay, man. Give me a hug, yeah. Fucking shit! Cunt! Who the fuck are you speaking to? Who? I'm talking to you, huh? You fuck! Johnny! Huh? Next time, don't get in my fucking face! I just saw a fucking ghost and I gotta hear your crap! Get up! Get up! Fuck you then!
Wait!
It's not a boss fight, it's not a dramatic standoff, it's not even a meaningful confrontation. No. Trevor stomps Johnny's skull in during a cutscene, while Johnny cries about his cheating girlfriend. That's it. That's Johnny's return. This character, who was once the lead of his own game, gets brought back just to be instantly killed off in the most pathetic way possible. And look, I get it. Rockstar wanted to establish Trevor as unpredictable, dangerous, a guy who doesn't follow the usual GTA rules. But this wasn't just a death, it was a joke. And that's what makes it so much worse. If Rockstar wanted to kill Johnny off, there were so many better ways to do it. They could have had him go out in a blaze of glory, holding off Trevor's gang in a hopeless last stand. But instead they turned him into a meth addict, a broken shell of himself, a guy who can't even defend himself. Rockstar turned him into a joke, a disposable character whose only purpose was to make Trevor look badass. They could have left him fade in the background, like they did with so many other past GTA characters, but instead they went out of their way to bring him back just to spit on his grave. And in doing so, they didn't just kill off Johnny Klebitz, they killed off any reason to ever care about the Lost and Damned.
A vast criminal conspiracy like the Lost MC shouldn't let a goon like Johnny K represent them.
He was a man past his prime. I heard he used to be serious.
Few hard stamps to the head knocked the seriousness right out of him.
Sure did. But before that, I mean, back in Alderney.
Man was weak for Crystal, weak for Ashley, man was weak. Shouldn't have spoken to me like that.
And for all its flaws, The Lost and Damned wasn't completely without merit. Rockstar clearly put effort into certain aspects of the DLC. And while the overall execution just doesn't work, there are still things worth recognizing. The addition of weapons like sawed-off shotgun and pipe bombs made firefights more aggressive and unpredictable. The sawed-off in particular had that perfect mix of clunky yet powerful. A weapon that was devastating up close, but left you exposed if you missed. Combining the new weapons with side missions like Gang Wars provided an almost San Andreas-esque feel. Also, while TLAD forced players to stick with motorcycles, they at least provided a decent selection. The DLC introduced a wider range of bikes, each with noticeably different handling, whether you wanted something heavy and stable or fast but twitchy. And the biggest improvement wasn't just the number of bikes, it was how they handled. Rockstar made the bikes heavier, reducing that floaty, slide-off-the-road feeling from the base game. That didn't make riding through Liberty City's cramped streets less frustrating, but at least you didn't fly off your bike every 2 seconds. But the one thing TLAD did genuinely well was Johnny and Ashley's relationship. I'm a sucker for romance side plots when they feel like actual relationships, and this one managed to do exactly that.
You sure know how to get yourself into trouble, don't you, baby?
You sure know how to get me out, Johnny.
Come here.
What's wrong? I don't want to hang out here. Can we go?
I don't want to hang here neither. Then again, I'm not the one messing up my head on a week-long ice binge.
I remember when you used to mess around at my place. That don't happen anymore either. Take me home, man. I'm crashing hard.
It's messy, it's toxic, it's frustrating, but it's real. Ashley isn't some tragic love interest or a damsel in distress. She's an addict. An addiction doesn't work on a 3-act structure. She makes bad choices. She lies. She gets in trouble constantly. And Johnny keeps stepping in to clean up the mess. And the worst part, he knows that she's incapable of stopping. He knows their love is not strong enough to beat meth, but he can't help himself. Every time he says he's done, he finds himself right back where he started. That's what makes this relationship the most human thing in the DLC. It's about a guy who keeps making the same mistake. Not because he's stupid, but because walking away from someone you love is harder than people like to admit. And the game actually acknowledges this. In one of the final phone calls, Johnny tries to break things off. He tells Ashley he can't do this anymore. He tries to leave her behind.
Didn't think I'd hear from you again.
I didn't think I'd call you. You hear about Billy?
Yeah, I heard. Look, Johnny. Look, have you got any money? I need $40. I need it real bad, baby.
Not this time. You can kill yourself on your own. Goodbye, Ash.
And yet in GTA 5, where do we find him? Still with Ashley. Still stuck in the cycle. That moment is frustrating, but it also makes complete sense. TLAD set up Johnny's biggest flaw. Not his anger, not his bad leadership, but his inability to walk away from things that are already broken. And if they had leaned into that more, maybe it could have told a story that really stuck with people. Oh, and to Redditors that think that doesn't make sense how Johnny was presented in GTA 5, just because something is said, it doesn't mean it won't change. When two people are attracted to each other, they often do dumb shit. If you think Johnny wouldn't have gone back to Ashley, then I don't know what game you were playing, because that's exactly what The Lost and Damned was always about.
You're here. You're here, old man Johnny.
What's the matter, sugar?
Oh, Johnny, I fucked up. I fucked up real bad.
What'd you do?
I messed up, baby. Promise you won't be mad.
Why? What'd you do?
I'm an addict. I need help.
What the fuck did you do?
How the hell?
You must be Johnny.
Who are you?
My name is not important.
What is this?
Your woman here owes Dmitry Raskolov a lot of money.
Okay.
We need you to do us a favor.
What?
We need you to kidnap someone for us.
Well, I'm not in the kidnapping business, dude.
And I'm not in the dude business, dude.
Could I have framed this video to sing praises to The Lost and Damned? Yeah, 100%. It's easy to say TLAD is not as good as GTA 4 because by design DLCs have way less time to get you invested. But it's not a good argument. There have been plenty of expansions that told great stories despite their shorter runtime. Blood Dragon did it, The Undead Nightmare did it, Blood and Wine did it. The problem with TLAD isn't that it was short, it's that it never used its time effectively. Rockstar tried something different, a grounded, grimy look at a dying biker gang in Liberty City. It wasn't a terrible idea, but it fell apart in the execution. Johnny Klebitz never worked as a protagonist. Liberty City never worked as a biker setting. The story never evolved beyond its opening premise. And in the end, The Lost and Damned never really mattered. And it's a shame because there were aspects that were interesting, like Johnny's and Ashley's relationship like I mentioned before. But maybe that's the real tragedy of TLAD. It had the potential to tell a powerful story. Not about a gang war, but about a man trapped in his own worst habits. But instead of leaning into that, Rockstar gave us a forgettable DLC that they themselves seemed eager to erase. In the end, The Lost and Damned wasn't hated. It wasn't loved either. It was just lost.
Hello.
Hey, old man, how you doing?
Please, gentlemen. The men in there just took my money. I can't get robbed twice in one day. What do you want, the shirt off my back? Come on!
We're not robbing you, we're taking you!
No.
Your chips have been cashed, Chubby.
No! Wait!
Get in there!
Somebody!
Shut up!
Shut your fat ass up!
If you want to see how Rockstar actually nailed a GTA Protagonist, check out my deep dive on Niko Bellic here. And if you enjoyed this video, you can support this channel by subscribing and turning on notifications to stay up to date, as I have a lot of exciting things planned for the future. And as always, thanks for watching.